Welcome to The Dish Course, the podcast that has hot food takes,
cool food people,
and never a lukewarm moment.
If you're new here, we're a podcast where we dish and debate on the latest food trends and fads. I'm Chef Renee. I help direct a culinary R&D test kitchen, and I think burnt ends are just fancy meat candy.
Interesting. I like that thing. I'm Callie, trends expert nutritionist, and more often than not, I actually prefer chopped brisket to sliced brisket.
Ooh, all right. And then my name is Chef Cam. I manage a team of R&D chefs, and mayo-based coleslaw is superior to vinegar-based slaw.
Disagree.
Yeah, and that's why I said that.
Okay.
It just hits different. But anyway, without further ado, today we have Jess Bograd. She is the Senior Director of Culinary at City Barbeque in Plain City, Ohio. And let me just say that they are super lucky to have her because before taking on barbecue full-time, she worked as a Director of Culinary of R&D in our Culinary Center. So, Jess, it's great to see you and welcome to the pod.
Thanks for having me. It's great to hang out with you guys again.
Yes.
Yeah, we're so happy you're here. We're so happy to have you here. We're going to go into our first section. It is time to spill the sauce. You're in the hot seat. How this works is I'm going to ask you a set of short form questions and you have to answer. Starting off with, what food do you associate with home?
Ooh, associate with home, pizza. Gotta be pizza all the way, but it's a certain type of pizza, right? So being from Chicago, everyone thinks it's the deep dish. It's that crust cheese sauce combination, and I am on the complete reverse. It's got to be, cheesy. I got to be able to see the film of grease at the bottom of the box.
Oh yeah,
and it has to be pizza cut too. It can't be, it's party cut.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, it has to be party cut.
Is that like the squares?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
What do you think is the best part of a party cut?
Yes.
Like, what is the first slice you're taking?
Oh, that middle.
It's
like
the middle
that
one?
Perfect middle piece where it has all the
Yeah.
nice blisters on it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh my God.
I agree with that.
I don't know. I like that little corner piece that is just crust.
It's like it's like so tiny. It's like, is this even considered a piece of pizza?
It doesn't count as a pizza as far as I'm
I also
concerned.
want it like so cheesy. Like
Yeah,
what you
That's
just
it.
said.
It's that perfect cheesy bite.
I'm with Renee.
Okay, so what is the most underrated ingredient in a home chef's kitchen?
Ooh. Getting creative with these questions.
You really are. Underrated. Well, see, and here's the thing. You say home chef, but like I'm thinking about my pantry, which is probably wildly different than...
I mean, you're a chef at home, so like, what do you think it is? What's in your pantry that's underrated?
Worcestershire sauce.
Ooh, I like that.
The hardest sauce to pronounce.
The hardest
And spell correctly.
yeah. There's a lot of letters in that one,
Yeah, I don't think it gets enough love. It could be in the same category as a soy sauce, right? Like it's got the salty, the umami. Like I think it deserves its day to shine a little bit harder.
Yeah, it's like I feel like we used to use Worcestershire in the way that we use fish sauce a lot now too. And so like it's time for the Worcestershire, if I'm saying that correctly, revolution in your kitchen again, listeners.
I'm in complete support of that because I obviously do not like fish sauce.
Yeah.
So
Callie doesn't
great
eat seafood.
replacement. I don't
She's
like
one of those
seafood.
people.
She's one of those.
I say that with love. My best friend is one of those people. Okay, what is your go-to midnight snack?
Recently, it's been Gushers.
Ooh.
What a throwback.
Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah. What's your favorite flavor of choice?
They're all the same flavor.
Are they?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Right? It's just like fruit. Like it's like juicy,
just like Gusher
strawberry,
flavored.
fruity flavor.
Do you remember those commercials when we were like growing up of like the head exploding?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh
Absolutely.
my God, I have not thought about that
Throwback.
in so long.
Gushers, yum. Okay, so the city with the best food.
Austin.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh.
Go.
Yep.
Horns. Especially wore my Texas shirt today for that reason.
And finally, arguably the hardest question for you. What is your favorite style of barbecue?
Texas style barbecue.
Yeah,
Texas style
baby.
barbecue. Okay, tell us more. What does that mean to you?
It's really about the craft of the meat and the combination of seasonings, the type of wood, how long you cook it. There's no frills, there's no secrets. It's done really, really well. You're not covering it up, you're not hiding it, it's not trying to be anything it's not. And it's simple, right? So typically Texas barbecue is salt, pepper, garlic. If you want to get fancy, you bring in a couple of spices, but still you lead with that flavor and the smoke and the wood. And it's
speaking to my soul right now. The way that I miss Texas barbecue. Oh man.
All right. Well, those are your questions. So I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Callie.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to do some news real quick. And then I was saying earlier before we started this, like, I'm just so excited to ask you so many questions about barbecue because
I love
it is
talking
so
barbecue.
near and dear to my heart. So this is a very exciting conversation. Okay, so we normally do Guess That Operator, where I'm going to like read a recent news story and then we guess that operator. So the first one, or one of them, is that I'm not sure if you guys will know this, but maybe Jess will, maybe Cam and Renee will. So I'll try to give you hints, but let's see how much you know about barbecue. So in recent news from last month, this popular South Carolina-based barbecue, and more specifically Rib House chain, known for selling its house-made signature sauces, which has led to a successful grocery line, has filed for bankruptcy, marking yet another blow to the struggling restaurant industry, as we've watched many other national chains like Red Lobster and TGI Fridays do the same over the last year. But while they've been open since '92, they've struggled financially for years with different ownership and inconsistent leadership, which has led to declining food quality. And while they've built a loyal fan base around their classic menu items like barbecue pork and smoked ribs and smoked brisket, of course, and other sides, they are most well known for their sauce that comes in flavors like Carolina Gold and Kentucky Bourbon, and that will continue to sell in retail, and you can get it at stores like Whole Foods and Target and Walmart. What is the operator?
Just do you know?
Hard.
Is it
You said
South
it's North
Carolina
South
based.
Carolina
Dickies?
based? No.
No. I'm just naming barbecue chains.
Yeah.
Together.
Famous Dave's? I don't know.
No.
They were in Nashville for a while.
Should I give you a hint of like the name?
Not Sweet Baby Ray's.
No.
Do they have restaurants?
Yeah.
Yeah, they've got like a catering.
What happens when your hands get covered in sauce?
Sticky fingers.
Yeah.
Oh.
There we go. Yeah.
There
so
we go.
tragically, but I have never tried their barbecue, and now I feel like I need to immediately go buy their sauce and at least try that. Now we're gonna do Guess That City, not Guess That Operator. So just this week, an article was published detailing that for all those who have waited forever, get ready, because as of April 12th, the world's first barbecue museum is opening, making it the first museum dedicated to grilling, smoking, and all things cooked in fire. The museum was referenced in the article as a feast for your senses, where goers can get ready to immerse themselves in the smoke and sizzle of the world of barbecue. Guests will enter through an oversized door resembling a smoker to begin their journey into the land of American barbecue, and will make their way through the museum's first 5 installations, which are dedicated to meat, rub, wood and fire, smoke and sauce, and a final exhibit that focuses on 3 famous regional styles. So what city is opening the first ever barbecue museum?
Kansas City.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's cool.
I like that. It's like the intrusive thought of like, I want to crawl into the smoker. I get to,
What is that experience like?
Oddly enough, like I've been to events where the smokers are big enough to fit 4 whole hogs, and like people have
my
legit
God.
like crawled in.
That's
Whoa.
alarming on
like
a
it would
lot
be
of
so
different levels,
claustrophobic.
I guess.
I mean, you gotta think. You gotta cook a whole hog. You gotta have a big smoker.
Right.
Oh,
Well, it
man.
sounds like the 4 of us could fit in one. So
Easily.
I don't know about that. Okay, so just jumping into our bread service or our context for the rest of this conversation. Obviously, barbecue has been around for forever. The word actually comes from barbacoa, which means cooking over an open fire. And today, while barbecue and barbecuing has become kind of a staple of American culture, we know that it mainly originated in the South and has since translated into all these different regional styles that are influenced by, like what Jess was saying earlier, kind of like the wood availability, what livestock's around, also the influence of different immigrant populations. And so we've seen a lot of barbecue specific chains rise over many, many decades. And while it has reached ubiquity on menus outside of being barbecue specific chains, there is this interesting juxtaposition now where I feel like while it is so deeply rooted in being that kind of like comfort indulgent food, we've also seen how it's like transformed into this culinary art. And I feel like consumers today have such strong opinions about what they think is the best barbecue, whether it's by regional loyalty or just having general really high expectations of quality. So today we're going to talk about some of the trends that we're seeing in barbecue in general, and we're excited that you're here. I have so many questions. I miss barbecue all the time, but I was thinking we could start with kind of hearing about some of the competitions that you've participated in and what that experience is like, and you could tell us more.
Yeah, so I've actually been doing competition barbecue for 18 years now. Yeah,
wow.
This is my 18th year competing.
Wow.
Dang.
It's wild. It's crazy how time flies. So some buddies of mine and I in college decided we wanted to start doing it. Originally, we started competing at a event that was a fundraiser for scholarships for kids in Central Texas to go to college. And, that was something that was really important to us was, kind of that give back to community, which is very prominent when it comes to barbecue. Just the culture and kind of that give back and the conversation. So that's really what kind of drew us to it. But then just that love and passion for smoking and kind of creating really kind of drove it. But, like I said, my favorite style of barbecue is that Texas style barbecue. We cook over a blend of post oak and like a hickory when we compete. But it comes down to like that technique. It's timing, it's temperature. You got to watch the fire overnight and meats take so long to cook. Like you mess it up once, starting over is not really possible. Right.
Yeah.
So, but competitions get interesting, right? Because you have to create the perfect bite for 6 judges, and you don't know who the 6 are. And the 6 judges that I get put in front of are different than the 6 judges that someone else gets put in front of, right?
Oh,
so
interesting.
You're really competing against yourself, but you're also competing against what that judge thinks is perfect. So it's really kind of an interesting dynamic of making sure that your cuts are exactly the same, that it's cooked all the way through, that you got the right flavor, the right texture, enough smoke on there. So it's an art form. It really is. If you ever see those competition boxes when they open them, I mean, pristine. It almost looks like it came out of like a Michelin star like kitchen, right? Like there's not a drop of sauce on the box. Everything is evenly cut and the color and glistening and all of the things.
So I have a follow-up question. So you just said that based on the judge, obviously they have different preferences to what they think is perfect. And something I wanted to ask you is that when you go to a barbecue operator, what in your mind are you kind of making judgments based off of? Is it the collective, or is it like texture or flavor, or like what stands out to you, and kind of how do you judge barbecue in your mind?
I'm a terrible person to go to eat with because I'm super judgy. Like it doesn't matter the restaurant. I judge them all. No, when it comes to barbecue, it is the collective, right? Like it's what does that plate look like when it drops right in front of you? Is it a hot mess, or is it like this perfectly curated tray that has everything laying out beautifully and it's colorful and it pops? And unfortunately with barbecue, it's a lot of brown food. It's dark, it's brown on brown. Like how do you make it stand out? How do you make it different? Whether it's a colorful sauce or a pickled veg. And so, we eat with our eyes first. So when that tray drops, like that's your first impact. That's your first kind of assessment. And then you dig in, and again, things can look really pretty but taste terrible, and unfortunately that's happened more times than I care to count. But sometimes when you get down to it, like just a really good, juicy, brisket or rib that just isn't fall off the bone, it's bite off the bone. Like that's where you can tell the quality differences.
Interesting.
Bite off the bone.
Yeah.
When you compete, are you using like, is pork your like vision of barbecue typically, or like being from Texas, is there a lot of beef involved? Like talk to me about like animal proteins.
So for the competitions that I do, I'll typically enter all the categories. So the sanctioned events are brisket, ribs, and chicken. Those are the three big ones. So, with brisket, there's a ton of different techniques that we're playing around with, whether it's injected or if it's overnight kind of like seasoned cured. I've seen some techniques where you split the point and the flat when it's raw and then treat them separately. So now you smoke.
What does that mean? Split the point and the flat.
So a brisket is made up of two muscles. So you've got your point, which sits on top of the flat. And the flat is the leaner meat. The point is the fattier meat. And they kind of crisscross. So when you're cutting into a brisket and you want to, as you cut meats, you cut against the grain. When you get to that kind of point in the middle where they sit on top of each other, you theoretically have to like rotate the brisket. So now you're cutting against the grain the other way. But it's two different eating experiences, right? It's like when you go and they ask, you get brisket, you're like, oh, do you want the lean or the fatty side, right? You're either getting the point or the flat at that point. So with competition, you can enter sliced brisket as well as burnt ends. So what they'll do is they'll separate the two meat muscles when they're raw, season and smoke them separately, and then that flat can be babied, right? Because it's leaner, you want to make sure that it's cut in the perfect like barrel shape, so it's aerodynamic, so the smoke goes over it the right way. And you can really kind of baby it so it's like the perfect cut. And then the point you can double smoke and turn into burnt ends, but those you can also then cut into like the perfect cubes and brush on sauce and paint it on and make it look all pretty. And so that's really kind of
speaking to an expert here.
Yeah, we really are.
Amazing.
18 years of trial and error here, guys.
Your barbecue career can vote now.
Yeah.
So,
oh man.
So I mean, those are just techniques, right? That we're seeing that people are employing with the ribs. I personally am a huge fan of St. Louis cut over baby back. I think that they eat better, they smoke easier.
What is the difference?
So the baby backs are kind of like the smaller bone at the top of the rack, where the St. Louis is a little further down. You get a bit wider of a bone.
Okay.
The baby backs are a little bit more tender. There's a little bit more meat on the top, depending on how you trim them. But again, it's more of a preference. You can enter both cuts. I think you get like a nice cleaner look with the St. Louis because they're a little bit more even, a little bit more straighter too. Sometimes the bones are straighter, which of course with competition, you want a straight bone. You don't want curves to your ribs. So we've been doing that, injecting our ribs, which also is something new that I've been playing around with, that I haven't done before. But I work with one of my suppliers that I work with, Prairie Fresh. They have this line of prime rib. Prime pork. Sorry. So think of it like you do like a qualification of steaks where you've got like USD prime and select and choice. So they do the same thing with the pork, which is kind of cool. So it's a little bit more of a marbled pork so you're starting off with a better quality product on the front end. So a lot of fun there. The chickens, there's a lot of talk around chicken, right? So I compete down in Texas, which is CBA, Championship Barbecue Alliance sanctioned.
Yeah.
Okay.
Whereas there's Kansas City's KCBS, which is a completely different sanctioning body. So they prefer theirs differently. So they do thighs, whereas I would do half chickens. So it's a completely different textural subset. They cook differently. You do different things to them. So
completely different.
Yeah.
Completely different.
So like out of all of like the different animals, the different cuts, what would you say is like probably the most challenging to execute like very well? I
mean, brisket is really challenging, right? It's the longest cook time. There's so many variables to it. There's only 2 briskets to a cow, right? The cow, like you don't know if it's an old cow that you got it from or a young one. Like you got to pick the right brisket, and then you go down the classifications, right? Do you spend the $200-300 on a Wagyu brisket that you really only need 6 slices from, right?
Oh my God.
For competition, you're cutting 6. You need 6 bites, so you drop $200-300 on a brisket. You baby it overnight, and you turn it in. and hopes that you get placed, right? Like there were 258 competitors at the competition this past year, right?
Wow.
So it's an investment. So, but again, you start with good product on the raw end, you put good product out on the finish. So it's really about kind of that investment of the quality, the cut, trimming, handling, all the way to the finish.
So is brisket your preferred barbecue, if you will?
No, not actually. No? It's not. Like I prefer ribs. I really do.
Is that because you prefer cooking them or prefer eating them?
I think it's a little bit of both. I do like eating. I think they lend to a range of flavors better than some meats.
Yeah.
Right. Pork is pretty versatile. It can go the salty sweet. It can go spicy. It can go savory. It could do a lot of things.
That's awesome.
So I have a question. So generally, obviously, we've seen consumers develop this preference for these really complex flavors. And so smoky, sweet and smoky, spicy and smoky. And we've seen that kind of come onto menus that are not barbecue specific. And I think something that we were kind of discussing before this is how we've seen things like burnt ends now show up more on menus that are not barbecue specific, as well as like brisket. We know that like Shake Shack just launched brisket, chili, hot dogs and burgers and cheese fries. But I'm curious, like, how do you feel, or do you feel like kind of that movement, that transition onto menus that are not barbecue specific is having a positive impact for a chain like City Barbeque? Like, do you think that it draws more people to kind of want to try more barbecue, or would you say that that's then seen as greater competition?
I don't necessarily think it's competition, right? Yeah. You know, the best thing about barbecue is everyone's welcome, right? So the more opportunities, the better. It's a different experience, right? Barbecue is an experience. It's walking into the joint and smelling the smoker. It's knowing kind of what you're getting. It's different coming into a place like City and getting, you know, your brisket than going to like a Shake Shack and getting a brisket burger, right? Like that experience, in my opinion, is more of a kind of a nostalgic, right? Like, I know I love brisket. I love what I get from a barbecue, but now I can get it in this opportunity, and it's quick, it's fast, it's a burger. It satisfies two different cravings at once. Whereas coming in to eat at an actual barbecue restaurant, I think that's just a different desire, different expectation.
Occasion. Yes. Yeah.
So I like that you said that barbecue is for everyone. I think that is a great sentiment. It's really interesting that like barbecue is one of those foods where you're like encouraged to go to a gas station to go and find it. Somewhere like Kansas City Joe's, you're encouraged to go to, you know, the side of the road stand to kind of get that nuanced experience overall. So I'm curious about like, where do you like to eat when you eat barbecue, and what really draws you into those places?
You know, I really like kind of those independent spots that are, you know, authentic in the sense of they're not hiding anything. You see the smokers, you can smell it when you walk up. You know, they're welcoming when you get in. They're handing out free samples, right? Like, I think that's wildly impressive.
Well, it's part of that experience.
Samples.
Yeah. I was in Dallas a couple weeks ago, and we went to this place called Hutchinson's Barbecue, which I think they have one or two locations. They were on, you know, Texas Monthly's Best 50. Like they did phenomenal, right? Like that you walk in, there's a huge line, but there's someone handing out samples of brisket as you wait. And then when you get up to the counter, they've got 4 dudes that are just like cutting the meats, right? And they're there to talk. They just want to talk about barbecue. They don't care. Like, they're telling you about how they smoke it and what they do. And
oh man, I miss Texas.
The cool thing though that they did was they had this bottle of beef tallow. So every time they pulled a brisket out, they just drenched the sucker in beef tallow and then sliced it.
Yeah.
God.
And it was like, see, yes, that's the reaction, right? Like, it's just like that. Okay, I'm ready. Let's do this.
Yes. I have been to Hutchinson's for like a presentation. Like, I think I've been there like 2 or 3 times, and I love the dessert bar that they have.
Oh my God. What's on that dessert bar?
Banana pudding and peach cobbler, obviously.
Always.
And it's free too.
Yeah, that was wild.
I love it.
That's hospitality right there.
But yeah, they also do, I think they're called armadillo eggs too.
Or Texas Twinkies. Where you stuff
those
meat
things are so good. Oh my God. But yeah, that Hutchinson, delicious.
What is a Texas Twinkie?
So you take a jalapeno and you stuff it. Now, I've seen it in a couple ways, right? I've seen it with pulled pork and cream cheese with pepper jelly. I had one where it was pork and pimento, which I thought was kind of cool. Ooh. But it's just stuffed with smoked meats, wrapped in bacon, and then smoked, and then finished with like a glaze.
Ooh.
Oh, they're so good.
There's like a big, right, we're talking all about how barbecue is this art form, right? It's something where when we were chatting about putting this episode together that it is often something that people will go and get versus try to do at home, just because barbecue is something that there are so many different components to, because like, what is barbecue if I don't have like a side of greens or mac and cheese or coleslaw, potato salad, cornbread, whatever it may be. You guys have a really amazing program at City Barbecue for pitmasters. Can you tell us a little bit about that program and just what a pitmaster is? By like, I don't think a lot of people know that that's a official definition and title someone can have.
Yeah, so this has been a dream our founder Rick had for such a long time, and I was really excited to help kind of pull it together. It is a program that is open to our senior hourly folks, AGMs, GMs. They have to interview, apply for it. We only pick 10 a year. Wow. And so it's a year-long kind of course to get them certified as pitmasters. And there's 3 in-person sessions with a couple, virtual classes in between. But the first one, we partner with the folks over at Ohio State University, their meat science department, and we do a full day dive into, meat science, right? So like, what is the structure of the protein? What happens when it cooks, all the way down to the molecular level, and kind of how smoke affects meat and what that does and what that means. We'll take them into, the meat cooler, show them a whole half of an animal. We'll watch them break it down so that they can see, kind of those major meat proteins all the way down to the minor cuts. And they talk, because OSU is kind of fully integrated with the whole farming program too. So like they talk about, raising the cattle all the way through to the slaughter and the handling. And so it's a really cool kind of behind the scenes education of the meat at that, primal first level. The next day we take them in and we do a lot of review of cuts. So we'll try baby back ribs versus St. Louis ribs. We'll try a wet aged brisket versus a fresh brisket. We'll try, spatchcock chickens, and we'll cut chicken thighs like they do KCBS style, and really just kind of take them through the gambit of different like cuts and styles of proteins that are cooked. We make them do a research project, so they get to pick a region of American barbecue that they have to dig into. So whether it's Texas or St. Louis, or even I've had someone do like Hawaii, right? Like as its own style.
Oh, yeah.
But they have to do the research on, what are the native animals they use? What are the woods that they use? What are the smokers that they use? And like, what are the flavor profiles? And kind of on the end of it, they end up having to ideate and create 2 or 3 menu items based off of that region. And when we get to the graduation piece for them, it is a competition, right? So it's them versus each other, where they have to compete, and their categories are ribs, chicken, and specialty. And the specialty dish has to be the region that they had been studying, right?
Cool. So cool.
They get to show off, and the cool part about that too is the winner. I work with them to then bring that specialty item to life as an LTO.
What?
That is so cool.
So it's really kind of cool to kind of take it all, and even within that, as they're creating this recipe, they have to do food costing, they have to do product sourcing, they have to make sure that it's not like 100 new SKUs. It fits kind of what our operations are, because these guys are in the trenches. They know what they can do. So like they're there churning it for me. So that's part of it. The middle class is a lot of fun. We partner with a couple folks. We worked with the team from The Shed down in Mississippi, Brad and Brooke. They came up and taught a class about, how they do competitions, because they were the reigning champs last year. They won Memphis in May. They won the Jack Daniels, and I think they placed in the American Royal as well. Like they were killing it last year. but like they showed us their tips and tricks, and they showed us how to maintain a fire and how to manage. And we've got all the smokers at the test kitchen too, right? We've got an offset, we've got a vertical, we've got a kettle, we've got a drum, like so different types
so
of
fun.
things.
Yeah.
It is, it is
I want to
so
take
much fun.
this.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, I'm like nerding out over here because I did take, I mean, not all of us, but I was a nutrition major in college and took a lot of food science classes. And I'm like, wow, I can't believe Texas doesn't have a meat science class. Like, I totally want to take
I would bet they do. I'm surprised that
It's probably
they do.
part of the ag program because they
Yeah.
have a
Probably.
pretty strong ag program.
I do want to call out really quickly. I know you mentioned in the range of regional varieties here. I think one of the flavor trends that we've kind of seen in barbecue recently is a lot of our global flavors being brought into barbecue. So do you have favorites? Like, what have you seen that stands out to you? Do you think that some things are overdone or underdone? Like, what's been cool?
I really love, kind of that Asian barbecue global, right? Like the use of, traditionally Asian sauces, whether it's a hoisin or a fish sauce or a soy, being used in kind of the sauce and the cooking. Personally, I'm a fan. I can eat it all day long. I think if we're starting to talk more in kind of the food service realm, for somebody who's on a scale that we are, where we have a very broad reach and a very kind of middle of the road guest, we're still kind of introducing something that's a little bit more ubiquitous in the sense of like a Tex-Mex.
Yeah.
Or introducing kind of those south of the border regional flavors, whether it's a roasted salsas or the chilies or anything that's a little bit more approachable, is really kind of where I see barbecue trends, at least at the casual dining or fast casual space starting off. Now the independents are crushing it, right? Like they're bringing in the cool chili peppers from Japan and South Africa and everything like that. Which I love. Don't get me wrong. I will go and eat. There's a spot in Texas, KG Barbecue. That's Egyptian barbecue
Oh my
fusion.
God.
I was
we
telling
were
them
just
about
looking
it.
at it this morning,
Yeah.
their menu, and crying.
It is beautiful.
He
Like,
does
I
a
saw it.
killer job.
Oh my
So it is
God.
good.
It is good. They did.
Oh,
We had lamb ribs with a pomegranate
Yes.
molasses barbecue sauce out there, right? Like, so there's some really cool stuff out there that they're doing. So I love to see it. It's exciting. I absolutely will go out of my way to try that. But as we talk about kind of food service, I think they're a little ways off, but they're getting there.
It just
makes
takes
sense.
time, right, to
Yeah.
educate your consumer. And, the American public, they're willing to learn. It just takes years,
Well, and
Right.
the younger consumers want flavor, right? So what is that new trending flavor that you can introduce, but it's still
Approachable.
approachable? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Do we want to do hot take or do we
Yeah.
want to? All right.
Yeah,
I think
I've been
we're
dying
ready.
to know what your
Yeah.
hot take is.
I'm ready.
Jess.
Okay, so my hot take is I think brisket's overrated.
Whoa.
Wait,
Wow.
we were
I
just
do.
Sorry.
Wait.
I was not ready for that.
Yeah. Wait. Okay. Now
You know
have
what?
to-
It's a staple. Everybody's got it. I've had great brisket and I've had really bad brisket. And unfortunately for me, brisket just tastes like pot roast, and it's just like
wow.
Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah.
I wouldn't disagree with
I'm
you.
over here saying chopped brisket's better than sliced, but she's like, brisket's overrated.
It
No.
just can be so poorly done.
Yes.
It can
That-
be.
and you can't. It's like unforgivable when it's
Yeah.
poorly done. And why would I risk my meal?
But it's
because people
expensive
have
too.
such high
Yes,
expectations.
it's so expensive.
Yeah.
It's so expensive.
I mean, if
remember-
I'm dropping $24 for a pound of brisket, like it
Yeah.
better be the best brisket I've got. Otherwise, I would rather try something else.
Yes.
As I think about it, and to be fair, Jess, like because of like where we are in the city, like the closest kind of like nicer barbecue spot is Green Street. And like as I think about it in my order, I only ask for like maybe a slice of brisket and I order the other thing.
Yeah.
Like what?
I order the pork belly. That
Yep.
one's my
Okay.
favorite. The sleeper is the smoked salmon that they have. That's really good. Obviously the ribs and all that, but like the pork belly is and the sausage. The sausages I like.
If a sausage is done right.
If you think that brisket is overrated, is it something that you're always still ordering, maybe just not as much of like Cam, and what is your preferred protein that you think is not overrated?
So I order it because I have to, right? Like it's my job. I got to make sure
you're obligated.
Like,
You're morally obligated to know, right?
Yes.
But I go for the ribs. I go for the unique protein that's interesting, right? Whether it's pork belly, burnt ends. Right now we've got a killer LTO for pastrami.
Yes.
Yeah, I saw that.
Right. So oddly enough, as I say, brisket's overrated. It is a brisket that we brine
prepared differently,
right? And then we rub it down, we smoke it, but it has a different flavor. It's not eating like brisket. It's a whole nother eating experience. So beef ribs, I love a really good done beef rib.
Yeah.
I've been seeing a lot of interesting things playing around with. There's a place Palmero in Charleston that does beef cheek. Really beef. Like that's like their number one thing is like a smoked beef cheek, and it's just like juicy and flavorful. And so I think there's something to be said about like alternative proteins that get the same prime treatment that brisket does that makes it stand out a little bit more for me, right? Like it's a little bit different.
Probably a little bit cheaper, obviously depending on like what the cut is, but
true.
Yeah.
But I mean, as long as you put in the same effort. Oh God, where were we? We had we were at Dwayne's in Dallas, and they did pork belly brisket is what they called it. Now, it was pork belly that got the same treatment as brisket, right? So it was salt, pepper, black garlic, or salt, garlic, black pepper rub, but it was like perfectly cut and pressed. It was smoked. It was sliced like a brisket, and it was delicious. It was absolutely delightful. And even that was like a standout dish that I would order over a brisket.
Just standard brisket. Interesting.
I do have to ask, because you are the barbecue expert, like what would you say are maybe your top 2 briskets that you've had at an operator? Like life-changing brisket moments.
You know, I think it speaks volumes that you have to think so hard about it.
I do, because there's a couple places I'm trying to think of like where I've been that I've had really, really good briskets. So, you know, you ask a lot of people that they're going to tell you, you know, Aaron Franklin does a good job in Austin. I refused. I haven't gone to his restaurant.
They were just named number 1 for the 4th year in a row.
They were. So, and here's the thing is, I've had Aaron Franklin's brisket, but it was at an event.
Okay.
That it was a pop-up event that he did that I had tickets to. And somehow we ended up as like the end of the line, and he looks at us. He's like, "Oh, guys, have you had your brisket yet?" We're like, "Oh no, we haven't tried any." He's like, "I got something special." Pulls out a fresh, brand new brisket, slices up, delightful, right? Like, so that was a really good experience, but it was a pop up. I've tried Goldie's, who was named number 1 in Texas last year, but that again, I was also at an event, and it was a pop up, and it was really good. But if I were to say going into a restaurant and having a killer brisket experience, you know, Hutchinson's is up there. They've got the prime brisket. They put the tallow on it. It's a perfect crust. Like it's done really, really well. And then where was I in Austin that we really liked? You know, this is going to sound wild. It was a food truck called Briskets, where they do biscuits. They do biscuit breakfast sandwiches. Literally, it's a food truck that was like connected to a coffee shop, and all they did was
I know what you're talking about.
Bomb biscuits, right? Like they're square cut, they're tall, they're buttery, flaky, and and all they do is smoke like 2 or 3 briskets a day, and that's it. And they just like cut them up and do breakfast, and that one was really cool.
My stomach is actually growling more than it ever has in an episode before. Like, I'm unwell. Well, also, in mentioning Franklin, one of my favorite restaurants ever in Austin is Loro.
Loro is cool.
So good, which is the Asian fusion barbecue with Franklin barbecue and Uchi people. But I have to go there every time. And now I will immediately have to run to, what was the name of the Egyptian place?
KG.
Yeah, I need to go there.
So I wonder, if you were to treat a pot roast like a brisket, would you get a similar experience? The fat marbling would be different, right? I feel like there are ways to incorporate fat, but like, you know, if we're saying that there are other cuts of beef that are definitely cheaper than a brisket that could be prepared like a brisket and get that same adjacent experience, like what do you think it would be?
I think you got to figure out what you want that end brisket experience to be, right? So Callie, you like chopped sandwiches.
Yeah,
absolutely. You can go down that route, right? You can take a good chuck and season it and smoke it, but then you pull it, shred it, chop it, and now you've got your kind of chopped beef sandwich, and it's got that same experience. But if you want like that perfect, beautiful slice of the flat, or like the combination of a point and flat, there's very few products out there that can get you that close.
Perform that way.
Yeah. So again, it's kind of you got to figure out what your end use is and then work backwards from there.
I think let's step into our recipe lab.
Let's go.
So for those of you who do not know, in this part of the episode, we will go through all of the different ways to solve around the hot take, whether that's creating something new or adding on to what we already know. And then Chef Cam will take that into our R&D facility here in Chicago, and he will make that recipe for us. So
the stakes
Cam,
are high.
I know you've already started noodling.
Yeah.
Talk to me about your thoughts.
I mean, outside of just like the pure shock, again, just saying that one, barbecue, again, it's challenging. You know, I think what was really cool was the pork belly being treated like brisket. I think there's something super cool about it. I mean, I love pork belly. Just me being Filipino, like pork is such like a huge, like part of just Filipino food and culture. And we've been talking about, like, we talked a little bit about just like this fusion of just different cultures in barbecue with KG, with like the Egyptian kind of Middle Eastern flavors. I would like to play around with just like giving something that, like that, a piece of protein, that brisket treatment, but then also putting like an international like flair to it, whether that's like in a sandwich, just on its own, served on a tray with parchment paper, white bread, all the sides, what have you. Probably costs like an arm and a leg, but that's here.
Hey, the sides are just as important as the meat, so you got to make sure.
So when we say treat like brisket, what does that mean?
I mean, we were talking about like, obviously like smoking, obviously we're going to have to do that, but just, and we've talked about it before in other episodes, how simple barbecue is, just in essence. Like, it's seasonings, it's cooked low and slow, and it's really all about that execution piece that like really like separates like okay, good barbecue to like great, fantastic barbecue. And so I love this idea of just doing salt, pepper, garlic. There's no gatekeeping. We know that it's just that. And then we can have fun with any of the other kind of topical sauces, what have you, on the side. Something that we have started to see just with like the interest in Filipino food is the rise of like adobo. So if you're not familiar with what adobo is, it's a way of how Filipinos in the past would actually cook food and like preserve their food without like refrigeration. So there's a lot of acidity, there's soy, there's garlic, there's bay leaf and black pepper, and all of that acidity would kind of also help preserve the meat, but it's also very flavorful at the same time. There's a lot of fat. It's very delicious. So seeing how I can kind of do this like Texas like seasoning of like salt, pepper, and garlic, because that is very much like a lot of the seasonings that get used in Filipino cooking, with this adobo kind of sauce thickened, we'll say barbecue sauce, like a glaze, if you will. And then smoking that piece of pork belly for low and slow, get it all like soft, tender, juicy, delicious. And then just kind of just drowning it in that adobo sauce would be super cool. And then obviously, again, we need to have the sides as well.
So we're doing sliced?
That I'm gonna have to kind of play around with. See if it's sliced. Is it maybe in cubes, like little bite-sized
pork
cubes?
belly burn ends are super trendy.
I think that's
adobo pork belly
Burn ends.
Burnt
burnt ends.
All right,
Yeah.
Cam,
Whoa.
you create that. We'll put your pork belly burn ends up against mine.
Oh!
Oh!
No!
I was like, no, thank you. No, that's okay.
All
Okay,
right.
so adobo,
Pork belly
burnt ends.
Yes.
What sides are you making?
I'm gonna have to, I would love to. Okay, this is gonna kind of like go back to like my hot take.
And what is
We were
your
talking-
favorite barbecue
yes.
side?
Like, so there's a Filipino, like, we'll say pickle coleslaw. Well, I'm gonna put it in air quotes because the main component of it is green papaya, and it's called a chara. And it's just like a very sour, very tart pickle. I've seen people put like cabbage in it and stuff. So it's more like vinegar based slaw. And here I am talking about like mayo based slaw is
It's a pickle
superior.
topping. It's not a slaw.
I mean, you can kind of do whatever you want with it.
I like that though. It's a pickle topping. Then you can add coleslaw on top too.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Why settle?
okay, there we go. That's how I get my mayo based slaw.
Yeah, we get double. Or we do, potato salad.
Oh, potato salad. Yeah.
That's a good
Obviously
mayo-based macaroni
mayo-based.
salad. That's another good mayo-based
Oh, Mac
option. And I know
salad.
how you feel about mac salad.
I
Cam, right?
love Mac salad. Oh my god, dude, Mac salad.
He's like,
don't
"Don't
get
even
me
get me
started.
started."
Dude.
I was there when you started. I remember it.
Yeah, dude, I'm going to Hawaii in a couple weeks. You know how much mayo I'm gonna be eating? Oh yeah,
Yes.
I'm excited. That
We will be
Kahlua
coming back with
pig-
mercury poisoning
Yeah.
and high cholesterol.
Yeah, just my whole thing is that like if I go to Hawaii and I don't have mercury poisoning, high blood pressure, or if I do
did
blood
it
work, yeah,
wrong.
then I clearly did it wrong. If my
Trying
blood,
to tank that health.
yeah, because YOLO, only live once.
Might as well.
Awesome.
So sounds like we have our recipe. Chef Cam is going to be making us some adobo pork belly burnt ends with some interesting sides of choice. So of course, follow us on Instagram, follow us on LinkedIn at Marlin Connections in order to see what that looks like. Jess, thank you so much again
This
for
is so
fun.
joining us.
I appreciate you guys having me.
You've been such like a mentor to myself and Cameron that like having you on the pod it truly feels like full circle.
Yeah.
Do you have anything to plug for yourself or City Barbeque before we wrap up?
I'm really excited about some of the new menu items we've got coming out. Like I said, we've got pastrami, and starting May 21st, we will have pork belly burn ends. So
Let's go.
make sure you give that a shot when they start for the
Yes.
Oh my God.
summer LTO.
Wow.
Yes.
Yes. All right. Well, that's it for today. If you're liking the show, please take a minute to subscribe wherever you're listening or watching. If you're on YouTube, we love comments, so drop them down below. And if you're listening on the podcast app of your choice, leave us a rating and review. We are always hungry for feedback.
Starving, really.
Yeah, right. I know, honestly, at this point. Our next episode drops 2 weeks from today, so stay tuned in. Jess, thank you again so much, and have a great day. Bye, guys.
Thanks.
Yeah.